Hello, 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 and welcome to PitchZone. It's Thursday, and I am so delighted to have a PitchZone here today with a presenter. PitchZone is a weekly gathering of coaches that help one presenter improve a 3-minute pitch. And our presenter today is returning. He was already pitching 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had a couple technical issues. Nevertheless, we were able to provide some feedback. And so it is my real pleasure to welcome back Damian Williams. Damian, so good to see you again.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me back.
Oh, really great. We always are curious to see, what are people doing with the feedback that you receive here. And today, I think technically we are more or less in a good shape. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your pitch, seeing how we can fine-tune it even more. All right. So, Damian, we are changing the coaches usually in each of the shows. We rotate them. Some of them are the same as last time, and some of them are new. The first one, same as last time. There he is, Nathan Gold. Nathan,
Hello.
thank you for joining us. It's early in the morning in San Francisco. As a pitch coach that is serving the whole world, this is not new for you, right?
Not at all. No,
Okay, all right. So
not at all. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Always a great pleasure. I'm gonna park you over here right in the coaches row and bring in Rick Pollack, who's joining us from Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts. Rick, welcome back to PitchZone as well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's good to be here and looking forward. I watched Damian's first pitch on YouTube and happy to be here live today.
Excellent. So you watched it 3 weeks ago. What's the one thing that you do remember from that pitch?
I remember Nathan talking about the elephant in the room and competition, and I'm interested in feature versus product. So I'm interested to see how Damian has updated his pitch.
And he's nodding, so I think he's covered that one fairly well. All right, Rick, I'm going to put you over here as well and bring in coach number 3, Michael Marchak. Michael, it's so great to see you as well. I don't know where you are currently. You are hopping between Chicago and the Carolinas somewhere. Where are you?
I'm in Chicago today, so
Chicago.
yes, but I have not heard Damian's pitch, and so I'm actually very excited to hear it.
Good. Damian, you have fresh meat here to, yes. All right, really great. So I'm gonna put you into the coaches row here as well, Michael. And Damian, my question to you is, are you ready?
I'm ready as I can be.
All right. So you are sharing slides. So I'm gonna switch over to a scene that shows your slides. I'm also going to put a timer right above where, yep, you can see it. Timer right up there. It's currently right on top of me. Okay. And so the timer will be in the same location, but of course on a different scene. So, Damian, let me switch this over. And once you begin speaking, Damian, I will start the timer. You have roughly 3 minutes time. Take a deep breath.
I'm probably going to run over that just like last time. It's going to be nearer 5, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Of course. Thank you actually for reminding me. That's not a problem at all. Go for your 5 minutes because you're preparing for a special occasion. So 5 minutes it is. We will not interrupt you. And one last question before we start. Who is the intended audience for this pitch?
Investors, probably angel investors, because this will be the first fundraising round, basically.
Angel investors, all right. And with that, Damian, I'm gonna switch you over again. And whenever you're ready, simply start talking, take a deep, deep breath, and the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Damian. I'm the founder of CME. I've spent 20 plus years in HR tech. I've been a founder and a co-founder, and I exited my first business 5 years ago. Here at CME, we believe times have changed, and I can't wait to share our vision with you.
The post-pandemic era is seeing the fastest rate of change in the workplace and the hiring landscape, with Gen Z at the heart, a driving force. Yet, employers are struggling to connect with this generation. Gen Z wants to work for organizations whose values they feel aligned with. But how do you connect or align with an old-fashioned job post when you grew up watching YouTube and TikTok? CME brings jobs to life with video, reaching new audiences, showcasing employers in a modern, vibrant way, and communicating why us. This is the CME audience. Half of Gen Z are already employed. By 2030, they'll account for a third of the UK workforce, 10 million people. And they move around a lot, changing jobs every 18 months. That's nearly 7 million job changes a year, around 100 million job applications, and up to 500 million job post views in the UK alone. Gen Z spends 4 hours a day on mobile devices, watching fast cuts of videos that have 8 seconds to grab attention. They care about what an organisation does, where they stand on social and environmental issues, what their values are. These need communicating authentically, and video is the best way to do this. Their interactions are fast and light. Why email when you can message? Long-winded hiring processes, no interest. Outdated tech, unsubscribe. But let's talk about the elephant. We all know, indeed, they're big. And there are plenty of other big job boards too. So, how are we going to compete with them? Well, we're not. With CME, employers communicate their values, their purpose, what makes them a great place to work, delivering their employer brand to a Gen Z audience in the language that Gen Z understands. That's not what Indeed or other job boards do. Sure, we fill vacancies. We piloted a video job board in Brighton, signing up brands such as the Grand Hotel, Pizza Pilgrims, as well as some iconic businesses, franchises, boutique retailers, bars and restaurants. And yesterday we signed an organisation with over 50,000 employees globally. Our proposition resonates with the marketplace. Yes, we pay for candidate traffic. We know the costs to the penny, but this will come down as our organic traffic grows. We have algorithms that rank our content, and we're optimized for Google jobs. Our social audiences are growing. Most importantly, people don't just apply for jobs in CME and disappear. There's a reason to stay. We help people promote themselves, to stand out with a beautiful video CV and get interview ready in the CME virtual interview room. We are committed to helping young people get hired into the job they really want, and we'll stay the course with that. The reason employers will join CME is that we start the conversation, building oceans of talent, allowing employers to engage candidate pipelines with follow-up videos that go deeper, such as Meet the Manager or A Day in the Life of, helping people choose where's right. The video job post is just a great way to start the conversation. In the next 12 months, we'll onboard more than 200 employers, publish over 500 video job posts, and sign up 10,000 talent users. We're raising 250,000. We have SEIS assurance and an R&D grant that extends our runway beyond 18 months. CME is already developed and being used. 80% of the investment is for growth. CME is currently free for talent, with premium plans down the line. Employers pay a subscription to use CME. Simple entry-level pricing to boost career page traffic, driving up an employer's ROI on their career page and employer brand, and growth plans based on the number of active jobs, with the option to manage applicants using CME and hiring workflows. We forecast being profitable by year 3, having grown in excess of 600,000, by which time over 800 employers will be using CME and over 500,000 Gen Z talent will have signed up. I am supported by a strong leadership team. Andrew, our CTO, builds and runs TechMagic, a 300-strong dev agency. And we are advised by Tom, a heavy-hitting early-stage tech investor, Sam, a founder of Student Nights, and Olivia, B2B and B2C marketing specialist. I appreciate that's been a lot to take in. Can I answer any questions?
Wow, Damian. This is I'm very, very happy with what I just saw, and there are 3 things particularly that I absolutely love. I loved your slides. Your slides are so well designed, they're so attractive, and they really support your talking points. They're not making the talking points for you, they support them. Really, really well done. I love your analogies and the language that you're using throughout, things like the ocean of talent and then the pipeline. And again, it matches with the slide so perfectly. And what I loved most, I think, was the elephant in the room, how you took that feedback from last session 3 weeks ago and actually incorporated it in a way that, well, at least you got quite a chuckle out of me, and I saw the other coaches here in the back, everybody had a smile on their face. So wow, pretty good. So I'm looking forward to hearing what our coaches here have to offer to make this quite good pitch even better. So who wants to start us out here? Maybe Rick. How about you, Rick? What did you notice?
I will start. And Damian, much improved over last time. And
Thank you.
One thing that I think investors look for is ability to take feedback and to listen. And you definitely did that from the comments you got before. I like how you began, and you mentioned right at the beginning that you had a business before you had the 20 years experience, but you had exited that. And I think investors are going to look at people and say, well, this is someone who has successfully started a business and exited from the business. So if they're looking at investing it in you, that you might exit this business as well, you're going to show that experience. But I think at the beginning, within that first minute, you defined the problem very well. Is that the typical job posting, and I'll say Gen Z because I'm in the US instead of Gen Z. But I think it's just more of struggling to connect with that. And that Gen Z audience, a minute 30 in, you're talking about the 8-second videos. And I like when you're saying, send the video by email when you can text. So it just really, to me, summarized very clearly that gap between the traditional, job posting and the Gen Z people saying, well, that's not how we do things. We just want something fast within 8 seconds. The elephant in the room, I thought that was great how you used the graphic, how you put Indeed on there and said, hey, we're not competing with them. And I thought that was very good, how you explained that. And then around 2 minutes 30 in, the brand in which that Gen Z understands. And right at 3 minutes, you had a proof point there, that social proof, saying that yesterday we signed this organization. So it's showing very much that this is current. You're not, and just the currency of the word yesterday, I know you can't use that all the time, but I like putting that in there instead of saying we signed a big organization. Yesterday we signed that organization. So I think that was effective. Right at around 3 minutes, 30 seconds, you said, we help young people promote themselves. And I think, if someone asked you, what do you do? What does CME do? That's a great elevator pitch right there. We help young people promote themselves in a language that they understand. And from that, And I like the other quote. I agree with what Claudio said about the ocean and the pipeline. Around 3 minutes 50 seconds in, a great way to start a conversation. Uh, you didn't put in the leadership team until around 5 minutes in. I remember 3 weeks ago you started with that leadership team, and I like this one better because the leadership team is important to the investors, but not until they care about what you're doing and see, yeah, there's a need for that. So I like putting that in later. When you ended, I thought the ending could have been a lot stronger. You went through it and then you were almost apologetic at the end. So, well, I
Yeah.
appreciate this was a lot to take in. Were there any questions? And I think you can have a much stronger ask at the end because you're not apologizing. You've got a great idea. You've got something that's going to have the employers and the employees connect. So I think you want a stronger ending to that. Also, last time you really didn't talk about the financials of who paid what and how you're going to be profitable. This time you did. So you talked about it's free for the talent right now. The employers pay a subscription fee. So now the investor is going to understand on that. But I think one question, and I know you're not competing with an Indeed or other typical job posting thing, but is there anything in the video where the employer posts something in their video and then the potential employee, that Gen Z posts like a 30-second video? Is there anything that can match them, or is this just a video and another video? Because you mentioned before the Gen Z people, they hate to fill out forms, and I know with a typical job search thing, you get this 5-page form to fill out with all the things and all your experience. Is there anything that where you can ask a young person just to do a 30-second video, and from a voice recognition on that or a voice to text thing, that somehow could prioritize them or match them with the with the employer? Because I think that would get an investor excited, because a lot of the young people, as you said, they're not going to go to a big job search and fill out a long form. If they can just do a quick video and something from that voice recognition in the video, that's going to flag that employee or that potential to the employer. I think if you can do that, that's something that no one else offers. So if you have a way to do that, and maybe you do and you just didn't mention it, but if not, that's something I think that's really going to give you a lot of traction. So, but great job, David. Much improved, and really like the pitch. And I think this is a great opportunity to get investors to get this rolling.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Thank you.
So to Damian, again, not can be this more fresh than others who have seen already. One of the things that struck me was listening from that angel investor perspective. I wasn't really sure who your client target is from a corporate perspective. I think of large corporations. Would they be a target for this? And then if they are, there's much larger talent acquisition platforms that are not Indeed, that people use for their own internal stuff, whether it's their Oracle hiring or whatever their talent management systems are internally. The second part of it was understanding the personalities that you have for people in going into a corporate job. Are we in a spot where we'd be looking for someone who would have to be an on-camera talent? Because there's YouTube influencers who would be extremely comfortable in doing this, who would likely be very poor accountants. So getting that mix of the talent. If you're hiring for a pizza chain and you want somebody to run outside to be the gorilla, maybe that's a great platform. Is this somebody who's going to be an accountant? Will they be comfortable to put up a video post of themselves, even though they are part of Gen Z, to be able to do that? So that's one of my concerns with that. How would you address that?
Yeah. So are you talking about from an applicant point of view?
Yes.
People applying for the jobs. Yeah. So I mean, basically, it's either or. So actually, from a job point of view, you can decide whether the job should be video required or optional, because many people, like including chefs, they're kind of like quite insular, introvert. So actually sometimes it doesn't make sense. Employers all want everyone to apply by video, but actually the public doesn't. And one of the ways it's increasing, we're seeing that. But one of the ways we're dealing with it is letting people apply first without a video, and then basically go back and say, hey, add a video, you bump yourself up to the top of the pile. So it's more like, don't put it up front, but let people kind of add it later. But it's without a doubt, sometimes people are not going to want to do that. And in many respects, we've been very focused on the companies using video to attract people, but respecting the fact that not everyone's going to want to apply with video. It's coming.
And who are the companies that you're going after? Who are those target companies that you're looking?
So I took that slide out this time, actually, but essentially the sectors that are very Gen Z focused. So retail, hospitality, digital marketing, care services is a good area, and one that's not coming to mind. Basically, the 5 sectors, and so we've kind of hit retail and hospitality, but we're basically going after kind of more the marketing side, where there's a bit more skilled talent, because they, really where we've moved the solution is more down the talent pipelining road, using video to build those relationships over time, rather than hospitality is kind of want someone yesterday and by next week they want the next person. It's kind of like, they're not that bothered about basically building those relationships, but as soon as you get to the more skilled workers, they are, and that's where we see ourselves going, and without a doubt going after the bigger organizations. And to your point about the ATS systems, that's why we can just drive traffic to their own careers page. So we're using that as the beachhead in, and then in time, then they can move away from their old ATSs if appropriate.
Okay. All right.
So Damian, I'll jump in now and give you a little bit of feedback based on what I saw last time and this time. And I'm very happy to see that you sounded less like a feature today and more like a product and a service. So really well done on that. But here's some of the tough love. If you're focusing this presentation on an investor, your first 2 minutes and 35 seconds, to me, was a waste of time. Aside from the elephant in the room, which is a major piece I'd leave in there, most everything else you said there sounded ancient in a way, or almost old, in that every investor you talk to knows about job boards. If you're talking to the right investor, they know what Gen Z is all about. And you just, if you're looking for a place to use concision, it's all the way up to 2 minutes and 35 seconds when you got to your product. Because everything you told us afterwards was focused on an investor. And if you amplified that part of your presentation and shrink up that opening, just get right to it. Sounded a little bit more like a marketing presentation in the beginning than an investor presentation to me. And I think that 2 minutes and 35 seconds can be used a whole lot better to express your success with your clients and customers. I mean, that proves more than anything. The success that you're having, more than talking about the problem. Okay?
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Good. Well, I needed to find a place to cut it, right?
All right.
So I have a question too about the protections that would prevent anyone else from doing this. So you talk about the elephant in the room, but you also talk about the fact that there are many other talent acquisition platforms out there. If you're talking about simply a video that describes what the corporation is doing, why wouldn't any one of those preempt that? What's stopping LinkedIn from doing something similar? Is there any kind of protection you have in place to prevent that?
I mean, basically, it's hard to patent this kind of thing. So, we are, obviously we kind of got all the IP protection and trademarks, etc., to protect the business. But in terms of actually protecting the patents, it is something I'm going to look at. It's not something I have looked at today, because my understanding from speaking to people is it's quite tricky to patent kind of something like, however, and it's certainly like putting a video into something that you can view on the internet. It's kind of like, well, that's not going to be possible. However, there is a lot of other, I think we are very much ahead of the curve. So to a certain extent, it is about being kind of like using that opportunity as quick as possible, recognizing there's going to be a bit of a scramble. Do I think the threat is LinkedIn or Indeed? Not really. I actually think the threat is probably someone I don't know who's going to come out with quite a big funded, kind of like, VC backed, proposition. I think the way that we're going to combat that is just growth and specialization and focus, and I think we've done that as much as possible. But in terms of the focus and the specialization, we need to grow as quickly as possible in those sort of scale that as quick as possible. So we're going to do that by focusing into specific sectors. The other area that we are looking, if there is an opportunity to patent some technology, is that one of the struggles that no one's dealing with yet is how do you help people market themselves with video? And I think you mentioned it earlier on about being and you're the second person that's actually that said there's a great kind of tagline for talent, which is like, we help you promote yourself with video. And so that is something that I've had some thoughts on. We've kind of like broadly kind of specified out how that might look, and it's kind of a combination of basically learning tutorials, kind of community feedback, kind of just getting people through a pitching process. I mean, it's a little bit like, this is the high end, but there's no one really doing that at the bottom end. There's a few tips and tricks on the internet, and then there's nothing. And I think there's a big gap there, and I think there's a real opportunity to fill that. It requires apps, it requires gamification, it requires all that sort of stuff. It's a chunk of money. That's not what I planned this one for. I am applying for a grant, Innovate UK, and that's the kind of thing that potentially allow us to do that. But it's kind of a whole initiative in itself. And I think that would potentially give us a very interesting, patentable, potentially patentable.
Okay. Again, I guess my thought was that there are other options to go about this in terms of, it was mentioned earlier, having sort of an AI kind of extraction or matching process. If you bundle that kind of technology together with the video concept, my assumption would be that at some point in time, that would be the exit. It would be very natural to say, we take this and we would then pitch it to a LinkedIn or to somebody else to have them acquire you as the end goal.
Yeah. I didn't even mention AI, actually. I used to have a lot of AI and then I took it out. We are plugged into ChatGPT to create job specs. We're about to plug into, and our virtual interview room uses it. It's very basic at the moment, but we're going to wrap that up. And so that needs to actually be put through here. And you're right, in terms of like, what is the ultimate exit route? I do see that potentially being a larger player realizing they've got behind the 8 ball on it and just going, right, well, what's our quickest way to solve that?
Gotcha.
So Damian, you were using some really good multimedia in your presentation, and it all came across nicely, and the video played nicely. The sounds all worked. I just felt it was a little abrupt to show up on camera and start a presentation without you saying even good afternoon.
Or I wondered what you think. Sure.
Yeah, so I feel like you should say, maybe you don't have to tell us what we're about to see, but I feel like let us hear you say something. And it could be something as simple as, good morning, I'm Damian. Have a look at this for a moment, please.
Yeah, sure.
It could be something or take a look at this. I have something to show you right away. Click. That's very different than what most people would do. They wouldn't do a video up at the beginning like that. Okay, you get that. So along those same lines, when you were showing us the product, if you go back and listen to the way you demoed the product, you were using the wrong pronoun for what you were doing here today. You were saying you and you and you and you, and the investor is not your customer. The investor is probably not the Gen Zer. So I feel like you just need to replace that with when a Gen Zer shows, when a Gen Z, just use that word or some other word that doesn't make it feel like, wait a minute, he's talking to me as if I'm the one using this product. It's a very common thing I see. You have your investor speak, and then when you demo the product, you're talking to a customer. But here, just watch that nuance. I think it's important.
Great. And yeah, I agree with Nathan on that. But Damian, one thing that I think you didn't put it in. I know you've got a 5 minute pitch, but you must have some success stories of an employer saying, "I had a employee do a video through See Me, and I hired them, and this was a great hire." And
Yeah.
you've got something that I think employers always worry about churn, and they say, "Okay, yeah, well, we hire someone as soon as they train them, they're gone and they've left the job." And you mentioned that the Gen Z people within by 24 years old, they're going to have 5 jobs. So it's no longer something that the employer can say long term, we're going to keep an employee for 20, 30 years. But I think the market's changed, so they want to find a good match. And I
Mm.
think that's something that I think the investor is going to look at the before and after. It's more of the Gen Z or applies for a job, 6 months later they leave because it wasn't a good match for them. But
Mm.
I think you've got enough from that video, and maybe if you have some kind of AI component that you're talking about, if you can tell the investors that this is going to keep Gen Zers staying twice as long in the job, or they're going to be happier in the job, or in the employers that we've had, and give some kind of success story that the employer came to us and said, "Hey, we wouldn't have found this employer based on what CME has come up with.
Mm.
This is a much better match for us," or they stayed longer, or it was a really a much improved over than just finding someone through a job board. So I think if you
Mhm.
have a story like that, that's going to impress the investors and also differentiate you from a traditional job board.
Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the other things too I wanted to ask is do you have any feedback from your current target audience of Gen Zers as well as your target audience of clients that you could share with investors? Not to share on your website yet or anything, but just to have any kind of stories to be able to say, because you say you get this it's up and running. What is the feedback from the people who are you're signing up? If you have 10,000 of these Gen Zers, why are they joining? What's the benefit for them? How have they found this?
Yeah, we need to get some more. It's just harder to get because we kind of don't have so much contact with them. But we have got snippets, and I definitely need to. I think we need to basically round up some of that basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damien, Rick, and Michael have just identified one of the main points I have on my list as well. And that is when it comes to this sort of a product or service that is, it's not new, right? You have some new ways of doing things, but you've got to prove and prove and prove again that this is not an idea in your mind. It's not something you just woke up with. And spending more time on the successes that you've had, maybe even share a failure story with them if you want, where it didn't work. But in this, I'd probably set that aside for a second conversation or let them ask
Mm.
you where, who's your biggest competitor and how do they win next to you. But if you just spend time on the proof points from your customer's point of view, your corporate point of view, that proves volumes. And it really does define the fact that you are able to get people to use this. And that proves there's a viable product in our faces here, at least for now. The more
Mhm.
you spend on your success, the more believable your mission. So if you want to shorten up that opening and just say, well, here are 3 examples of what we've done already. Success
Yeah.
1, success 2, success 3, and then go into the investor speak after that, and it'll be a very powerful presentation.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and
Good.
Damien,
Interesting.
just go ahead. Yeah, I think I stepped on you, Damien. Were you just answering Nathan there?
Well, no, it was just interesting that quite. I've this is still coming over as a job board, and I guess that's something which I don't. I tried to not be because then we're in that whole bucket of like Indeed, etc. Essentially, this is a and I tried to move it into a mechanism by which we start the conversation and we kind of we allowing organizations to use video to further that conversation and build kind of like engagement with talent. But I'm guessing that that's not coming through enough, or the video job board messages coming through way harder. And really the video job board is just one tool to pull people in at the top, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think just from what we were talking about before, it's the employers who are going to be paying you.
Yes.
So I think you want to make sure in that pitch that the success stories are from more from the employers than from the applicants, because those are the people who are going to say, we want to have see me. So if you have some success stories, and essentially to the investor, they're going to be asking, why would an employer sign up and do a subscription with see me? What's the benefit for them? And it's not 8-second videos. It's it's an employee who's going to actually be a good fit for the job. So I think
Right.
that has to come through. It's not a video job board. It's not the technology. This is an employer is going to pay a monthly subscription to see me because they are going to get. And you fill in the blank. You say this is why employers. And if you've got some success stories, I think you mentioned before, yesterday we signed up this employer. Why did they agree? What are they going to get with see me from that? And to me, that's the key thing. The video is just how you do it, but their result is something that they're going to you, instead of just saying, no, we'll just put things on job boards and just have posted things on the internet. So I think if you can get that to come out a lot more, then you're going to be much more successful with the investors.
Yeah, I agree with. And the other piece is, um, if you think about any of the other job boards, and I keep bringing back to this because you mentioned it. That's kind of why the employers are there. Is there because they are looking for candidates. So the when you compare it with another job board, how many of those job boards have the resume depth that they need? Probably not many, right? Even though there's plenty of openings out there, they have capabilities of uploading resumes and managing that with text right now, and have capabilities to do screening and pre-screens for text to be able to locate candidates, or employers do that. But the likelihood is that they're not going to come up with those candidates right away. You have to find a way to tell the employers that they're going to get those candidates here, and have some way of having the candidates indicate the fact that they want to be here because they believe that they'll have a better success chance of getting the role that they're looking for. So you're walking a very fine line to do both sides, where you have value for the employee, but also some value where you're actually going to have the candidates show up and provide that those CVs for people to look through. So it's a tough balance that you actually got to work on here. So that's why I'm trying to figure out how best to do that. I'm not sure whether grant covers in the funding, but to understand how you're going to do that in a period of time will keep you profitable.
Yeah. So one of the things that we don't need to do is build up both sides of the marketplace. One does not necessarily need the other. So there's basically there are talent value propositions which are standalone. I.e., basically create a video CV, send it wherever you want, and practice in the virtual interview room. So that's been one of the important things. But maybe I didn't get that over enough. That we're not, one side is not dependent on the other. And similarly for employers, they're not necessarily dependent on the candidates in our database, because basically we're just going to be marketing their jobs on, social media channels like TikTok, basically the video job board, search, Google Jobs, every possible route. But let's try and bring people to the video where we have a higher level of engagement, because this job is being marketed in a more conducive way to Gen Z. So that's kind of in a nutshell, I guess, that dealing with the two-sided issue of a marketplace where someone goes, well, how the hell are you going to do that if you haven't got enough? So,
are you offering services to be able to produce those videos to
we have all the
players?
videos. We produce the videos, yeah, and so that is something that we are, and we can basically service the London market from where we are, but we also have, which again, it's not on the proposition. We have actually created. So we did the videos. So we've learned how to do it. We then kind of created sort of sliced TikTok versions of it, just kind of with captions, and then we've built an animation tool in CME, so someone can upload maybe a few different Instagram clips and just put their own captions on and make their video, because that is one of the challenges. You either have a video, which more and more people do have, especially the bigger companies, but if you don't, then you can create one really easily, or so it's like a DIY sort of thing, which we enable, or you could book us in and we'll come along and do a beautiful video. We don't want that to be part of our business, but we figure by having it there, we kind of look like we really understand how to bring jobs to life with video because we're professionals in it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, all right. Well, that was quite a round of feedback. Damian, are you happy?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing feedback. I mean, thank you so much. I've got so much value out of this process. I can't thank you enough for, I can see that everyone's given me really sort of like deep thoughts and, from four very experienced people. So, I'm very lucky and thankful for that.
Oh, it's our pleasure having had you here twice and seeing the progression in between. Really, really well done. And it's actually very interesting to watch the kind of feedback, right? Because your the delivery is superb. And if you go back and you listen to the recording, right? It's more business feedback, more so than the pitch in itself, right? And so,
Sure.
Yep. So I'm very happy you are happy, Damian. And if you are watching this at home, we do this once a week. And if you would like to sit in Damian's chair and get a deep dive review of your pitch, please visit PitchZone.live and hop on our calendar. It's a very, very simple process to get on our calendar, and we'll be very, very happy to help you tidy up and fine-tune your own pitch. And while I'm pushing buttons here, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click that button now. All right, so that gets us to the end of today's episode. I see we just have one viewer come in here, and of course I want to quickly bring this up here. Massimo, thank you so much, even though you had a long sushi dinner and the computer wasn't working. So thanks so much for joining us here at the tail end, Massimo. Always great to see your name. And with that, I wish everybody a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we shall see each other again next week. Bye-bye.